Hello, everyone, friends and family. Greg Detweiler coming to you from Maine. I'm on my fall pilgrimage. I come up to Maine every fall to seek the Lord and seek to do a few strategic projects. And one of the things I've done over the last couple of years is to produce a little video to come to you and to thank you for standing with us over this past year through your prayer, through your encouragement, and through your financial giving. Those of you that are local partners, some of you that actually roll up your sleeves and work with us in a hands-on way, thank you so much for being our partners in ministry. I wanted to give you a little update, and then I also wanted to ask you to consider a particular need. First, let me tell you a little bit about our journey with GBRM, Greater Boston Refugee Ministry. We call it GBRM. We launched over 3 years ago. And in the first stage of ministry, we called GBRM 1.0. We concluded about a year ago, and we paused and slowed down a little bit so that we could take stock and reflect on what do we learn in this first stage of ministry and what adjustments do we need to make going forward into the next stage of ministry. And so we got a lot of feedback from our stakeholders, from our volunteers, our ambassadors, our church partners, but mostly from our refugee friends. And one of the things that we become convinced of through this process is that we want to change the kind of the mental model of particularly of our volunteers from seeing refugees as just people who are needy and need our help to seeing refugees as people made in God's image who come to us with gifts and assets that we need and assets to make the world a better place. And so what we are trying to do as we move into GBRM 2.0 is to be on the lookout, to have lenses to look, to say, where do we see refugees taking initiative and innovation and action to solving their own problems, but also to make a difference in their new communities and even in their communities back home. And whenever we see that kind of initiative, to celebrate it, to acknowledge it, to nurture it, and to encourage it. And in the email that I have attached with this video, I'm listing several bullet points to give you kind of a texture of what that looks like. One of the stories, and I just will say it here as a brief story, just as an example, we have gatherings that we call lunch and learns. And in these lunch and learns, we bring refugees and non-refugees together so that they can hear one another's stories, learn and build relationship with one another. And in these lunch and learns, we'll often have refugees share their stories and their vision and dreams. At a recent lunch and learn, a 94-year-old Liberian refugee man who came to Boston a number of years ago. He was a church leader in Liberia. He planted churches and he built a school in this remote area of Liberia because he recognized that there was a lack of educational opportunity. And that school has been going for a number of years, but has continued to grow and expand. And this 94-year-old Christian leader, now finding himself in Boston, still has a burden for his home country. And he goes back from time to time. And his prayer is before he dies that he will be able to expand the school because the school is growing and there's a continuing need. So he shared this initiative, this desire, at a lunch and learn, and there was a young Liberian young man who's only been in Boston for about a year, a refugee, who has a minimum wage job, and he was moved by this elder Christian leader. And he said, I want to help, and he pledged $500 US to buy bundles of corrugated roofing to do the work on this building. He didn't know where he was going to get the money. He didn't have the money. But I've heard since then that he has made true on his pledge. And through him and through others, refugees and non-refugees supporting, this 94-year-old man now has new ability to begin the work, to expand his school, and to see his dream realized before he goes to God himself to see that this work is continuing. So that's one example of the kind of thing that we're talking about. But in the email, there are many others. Right now, we're at the end of the year, and we are very lean in our funding, and we need some help. We are also in the process of raising funds at our year-end fundraiser for GBRM. And this year we have our most ambitious goal, $50,000, because next year we want to hire another full-time refugee staff, because we believe that refugees need to be the center of what we're doing, including being present on our staff to give input and direction and leadership. So we're asking those of you, you've supported me, you've supported our work, and we thank you so much. But if there are those of you that are hearing this video, have the capacity and feel led to help us with a special gift, I'm going to include a donate button on this email. I don't always do this in my updates, but in this one I'm going to. And if you can and would like to give a gift to stand with us to help us to move into this next stage of ministry, we really could use your help. So I thank you so much for listening to this video, for reading this email, and for being our partners. Wherever this finds you, I pray that all is well with you, that God is blessing you and your family and the work of your hands. And we give God thanks for you. Amen.